Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Scott. As always, there was a minor aberration in our in the context of the event. We are a customer-first company, so it was great to see Scott go on stage before and open the keynote for us. Thank you for doing that. Wonderful, filled with a lot of real insights. So it's a room, no standing room in this. So thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Plano, for receiving us so wonderfully. And it's a sold-out show. So where do people come from? Mostly from Dallas, Plano, and also from the rest of the country. Are there anyone from outside the US? I saw a hand there. A couple of folks. Where are you from? Someone came from outside the US. In the New York show, we had someone from Israel. So, how many folks from Dallas, Plano area? Awesome. So the data science is somewhat real. I don't trust graphs as you believe, if you believe me. A bunch of folks from Richmond signed up. So Richmond, is it the second largest contingent? Do you see how many folks from Virginia, Richmond, McLean area? It's not so bad. I know Scott landed late last night, so thank you. We did a H2O Dallas Data Science Day. Josephine and I organized it a year ago. We were stunned. We were literally thrown out of the hotel. The show kept running till 11 o'clock, 11 p.m., and it was filled with people, rich in data geeks. So we thought this is the perfect venue for our alternate show, H2O Open Tour in Dallas. So thank you for being here. I have a clock running here, and want to try and bring the rest of the wonderful speakers very quickly to the show. So I'll go very fast here. So stop me when you need to. Thank you. It's really filled with gratitude. And thank you, speakers. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, H2O doers. And there's a few of them. Show of hands of H2O team in the audience. Quite a growing team. And it's not just the one in the audience, the one offline. The team has been growing. We've crossed 70, and lots of doers, lots of makers who put together a wonderful show, but also a great product, great community. Our tour is coming of age, and the company itself has been on the growth. So phenomenal growth, lots of great things to talk about. And so H2O as a whole, as a community, has now crossed 100,000 users, and 10,000 companies are beginning to play with the product. It's a very rich trajectory. So thank you. There's a lot of that, and thank you, Dallas. We'll talk about transformation. Transformation doesn't have to be just technology transformation. People are changing every day, right? It's like butterflies. It can be just as caterpillars to butterflies, to engineers to founders. You see one of them yourself. Managers to leaders. So leaders are what the team makes you a leader, right? Sort of, not the title. And the child to grandpa. That's another popular transformation that we all see. Transformation comes to us from our culture. India believes in falsehood to truth, for example, the source for truth. Darkness to light, and death to immortality. It's actually a classic Sanskrit sloka we are trained to listen to when we were kids. And so, towards that, our team was celebrating Diwali as a billboard on 101 in Silicon Valley. So, happy Diwali is the rest of the week. But it's darkness to light, from intelligence, right? The life cycle of data, and I think to a degree Scott preambled it. We want to take data, build insights from data, and from insights you want to tell stories, and from stories comes wisdom that you can take for ages in the years forward. Data transforms processes, and data science is really a search for truth. In that pursuit for truth, every question leads to more questions, and towards the end you go back to the same spot. This is another favorite quote of mine. The universe is sparse, and life is messy. data which tries to capture life and the universe is sparse and messy. So it's really very hard problem right there. Algorithms and data lead to business. And we've been talking about this earlier today. We'll be talking about this the rest of the day. But with people, this becomes transformation. Because data by itself will not change. It's us who have to live through those changes in processes that bring transformation to companies. And some of the things that as we started as a company, we felt like building great platforms, great tools will do the job. But it was until we built teams, great teams that can embrace data, till then we actually couldn't really bring change to our customers. And Capital One is one of them, but a lot of our customers are embracing the change of bringing data teams together. And data teams are really diverse. We'll talk about that in a little. But transformation is coming to the world through data and AI in many ways than one. I'll keep it very short, as I thought, but I think we have enough slides here. Time is the only non-renewable resource, and speed is what we have been trying to focus on as a product, as a company, as processes. Every time you reduce the speed of a business process, there's a quantum leap in value, and I think that's what data is trying to do. Of course, our favorite poet. For the first one now will later be last. We found a lot of advanced companies be the least likely to embrace new change because they're really so far ahead in their business models that they actually are the ones most likely to be disrupted. So if you're in a very advanced economy, in a very advanced company, be ready to disrupt yourself. That's where the maximum disruption is coming from. Code is changing the world, and I think most of us are examples of that. And that means it's another way of saying software is eating the world, right? But software is a commodity. So that's kind of where the biggest disruption is coming from. Most of the business processes today, which are not automated or have been automated, and they're automated with software, and software is a commodity, suddenly. So you're going to follow the same disruption, the same Moore's Law ++ that software follows. Value has shifted to asset-light platforms, and Airbnb is more valuable than Hyatt today. And more surprisingly, Uber is more valuable than Tesla. It's not about innovation, it's about building communities and ecosystems. So it's actually a much, much more deeper piece where asset light, Tesla has more assets than Uber. Vertical is the new horizontal. And what we're really saying here is that your brand and your community is all that you're defending as a company. As each vertical is embracing software, it's being commodified at the heart of its value proposition. And everything you're building as a curve is suddenly becoming commodified. So all you can do as a company or as a community is strengthen your community, build a great brand, and defend that brand with data products, and build alliances, build data ecosystems. And that's kind of the fundamental theme that's progressing in this whole space, where if you're in a vertical, you have to think very horizontally. Your use cases no longer, if you're an airline company, you should be looking at real estate, not just fuel costs. So it's kind of a very flat, cross-vertical thinking that is going to come to this market. Shift focus from internal to external interactions. A classic example, this particular venue is historically you would have companies safeguard their venues, but giving their venue for meetups, for outside interactions, for community events, that's an external interaction, brings non-Capital One folks into this company, for example, or vice versa. So you suddenly resources, you're not looking at how do I focus on safeguarding resources, but how do I share resources? How do I go external, not just internal? From rule-based to pattern recognition, of course, that's kind of the, how do I go after outliers so I can mimic my software around outliers? Every company needs a digital arm, said in a different way. So if you think about GE Digital being larger than GE, it's likely to happen very fast, just like Uber is larger than Tesla. But where do we focus? Of course, it's a famous book, Where Are the Customers' Yards? It's actually one of the top, I'll tell the story through some books that are kind of popular and really strong. This one is a very ancient book that Warren Buffett refers to often. And the topic of this is, well, if if we are so good at digitizing our world, why are the customers not all having their yachts? And that's a very common theme, is focus on kind of your customers and your customers' customers. That's where the digital era is really going to help us a lot. Microservices, not monolithic applications, major trend in software. And of course, that major trend in software mimics itself to enterprises reinventing themselves as micro businesses. So you see that a large chunk of vertical businesses will be sliced up into small AI micro businesses. And of course, this is a small eye chart here. We've seen a great picture earlier from Scott, where you're seeing across the world, across different industries, one big vertical is going to be sliced up into lots of little, but large multi-billion-dollar companies. Open source, which is kind of the reason why we are here. Our company has open sourced every product we've built so far, and we've gotten only immediate grasp from almost a hug from the community. Our latest product, Steam, was open source within 2 weeks. We had 3,000 installations. And of course, that's basically a defense of community with code. It's pull, not push. It's freedom, not free, right? Make software, not just consume it. I think the heart of open source movement is trying to give big, large companies the meaning of truly immersing themselves into being software makers, into maker culture, as opposed to a consumer culture. And maker culture empowers. It's kind of participative. It brings the same kind of change to you as it does to us, the software makers. And nurturing community love with beautiful data products is the core ethos of most open source movements today, and H2O is just one of them. Our community has grown, and has grown exponentially, and companies have embraced H2O for the last 3 years, and we are still at the very, very early stages of this whole movement. We've been building a lot of products, some of which you'll see today. And over the course of the many Legos, you see the Lego theme downstairs, we started slowly embracing listening to customers. H2O started as a major movement, and it continues to be our largest customer use product. 1/4 of our customers today use sparkling water, which is a Spark integration. We have Steam, which takes DevOps for data science. We have Deep Water, some of which you'll hear today, brings deep learning, best of breed deep learning, open source deep learning, into one single user interface. And of course, mimicking them for different verticals. Deep learning hasn't been done really for financial services, so one of the first will bring that to the templates for different verticals. Automatic machine learning, which reduces the experimentation time lost today and makes it really hyperparameter optimization. You'll see a talk on that today later. And visual intelligence, and how do you interpret a model? That's the last ethos. Each of them are talking to different, as you go up the chain, you have different folks working on it, and different folks receiving it as audience. We started, of course, with simple speed and accuracy, and that was the whole ethos behind how do we build a very fast algorithm and make it scalable across different size data sets. And of course, experience becomes really important, where we can bring it to a much wider audience. And over time, we want to bring it to every Excel user on the planet. And that is core ethos, where we're trying to reduce experience bars. The data products, of course, take this APIs and build it and build products for you, where you can go and change different verticals, transform different verticals. Here's a simple anatomy of a data product, of course. Continuous feedback loops is part of that. There's a combinatorial innovation ahead in AI. Take any business you do today, plus AI, it's going to change. It's going to change itself dramatically. So the next 10,000 startups are doing that plus AI. And that's kind of how Google reinvented itself continuously through combinatorial innovation on top of the base search platform. And I think that's kind of what you'll see with AI. The learning rate is ginormous. At the speed at which you can turn the wheel, the feedback loops, and get past to the next level is exponential. Learning, by the way, means accepting that you were wrong so many times. So it takes a lot of heart, a lot of courage, a lot of continuous falling down and waking up and picking up the ropes, running again. So learning is actually very hard. We say learning is fun, that's the core theme of H2O Open, but learning actually is painful. So you need a lot of heart to do that. And data science, as a search for truth, is continuous learning. So another great book in this topic, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. We usually have copies of it lying around in the office, and this is a fantastic book for thinking about the space, learning, both online learning, offline learning, and then scoring, making those fast decisions. There's another great book from actually a couple of months ago, How Google Works. Kind of talks about how do you optimize for scale and not just for revenue. So optimizing for scale and building teams that are the knights and the knaves. How do you empower the creatives in your company? How do you build teams? How do you build teams that are not too large? How do you scale a culture that's just not just beyond a startup to a real large company? It's a great book for read. It also stresses on the power law of networks. The law of networks is continuous feedback loops and getting to the idea of infinite ideas as opposed to just one idea. That's why we like the circles of tables here are continuous interaction loops where every idea gets amplified by the power of network. An example here is they say that the world's greatest salesman was the one who sold the first telephone, right? So, importance of being little. We've learned a heck of a lot by being small. It's about raising an entire forest, not just one tree, right? How do you build an ecosystem? How do you adapt for not having a lot of resources? Is to build partnerships, to build real ecosystems, and that's something that every company is looking at, not just your own product, but a platform. Data is a team sport, and it really is a team sport. At every edge on this team, on this is actually a lot of violence, right? If you see a mathematician and a software engineer do not want to work together naturally. A data engineer and a data scientist do not want to work together naturally. DevOps and data scientists, again, they don't want to see each other at all. You see a business person, he just wants to know the story. He doesn't want to really go deep into the data. So at every edge on that corner, we as a company, internally, we would face real challenges day to day. Out of those challenges, we came up with real products. Every edge on that represents a product for us. And I think every company will have to go through these units that work together called business transformation units. And in the AI space, it's going to be super critical, where you base all of these learnings from the core domain experience, but try to reveal it as a business value, as business application. I think and design will really soften all of that storytelling through visual interpretation. A couple of really good books on this topic. How do you make high-power performance units work? And of course, sports is the best place to learn them from. And these two books are quite amazing. Storytelling is a human endeavor. And at times, I've seen customers sacrifice accuracy for even interpretability. So models are not just all about accuracy. Sometimes telling a great story will get that. Some other models go ahead in the business. Visual intelligence starts where data science almost pauses or ends. Data scientists are mostly interested in ROC curves and accuracy. But business units, they want more storytelling, about 15% storytelling. But by the time you go up to the board, it's 99% storytelling. Right? And finally, all children want to hear stories. So really, telling a great story is where you really want to go. Data journalism is exactly where data science was 4 years ago. Today, you could probably recruit data journalists for almost nothing, pennies on the dollar. And every department will need a data journalist. When someone's boss comes and asks them, how have you done this quarter? I think they need a data journalist. Of course, it's still political season. Running lots of simulations to tell a story, that's a powerful ethos that one can borrow. I'll now go into a little bit more deeper of how we built this company. Culture is your co-founder. That's what happens when you're not in the building. And startups are really team sports. We wouldn't have gotten here without the love and the heart our community, our team, and our customers. And then we do data science daily. Most of the data in the company is almost available for everyone in the company. So why make one CEO when you can make 10? And why make just all of them? Why not go one step further and not just lean in, make 10 women CEOs of great caliber? Change will come in spades, and that's the team, that's the company we're building, steadily, slowly. We are about 50% women, but we're not there yet. We're still continuing to grow. Every generation needs to fight its revolution. This is the problem that inspired us, cancer. And it's a space that's really challenging, really tricky. I mean, it's kind of one of the core ethos behind big data, that the best minds of our time are focused on AdSense and less on world-saving problems. I think AI and machine learning have driven the next generation to focus on really hard problems. This is another great recent study where 40,000 fMRI studies have all been invalidated because of high false positive rates, because of a software bug. Right? So all brain surgeries, all brain studies done in the last 20 years have to be redone. And so open source is a real value there. We can bring open data. Now, software always has bugs. You want to rerun the experiments, so that you need open data to really change the world. I think that's something that we're looking at, trying to build real partnerships with companies, hospitals, and universities alike worldwide. Open data ecosystems is kind of really where the world is headed, and the world will come to that. And there are countries that are ahead of that, ahead of the US on that, and there are countries that are doing that almost on every vertical basis. But I think for healthcare, it's almost prime center. People have not run as many simulations before opening up our bodies, which are the only physical hardware we'll be left with for 90 years. Then we're looking at a cell phone goes through more diagnostics than a human body today, or human diagnostics. I think consumers have that power to integrate several verticals together. Someone asked about healthcare and finance and banking. I'm pretty sure there's a huge convergence happening. Healthcare, insurance, and banking and finance are all converging to truly increase human potential. AI, finally, is eating software. It's the last theme of the topic. And what does this really mean? Well, software, today we are training computers. We are not programming them anymore through data. We have done some experiments where we've asked deep learning to produce code, and it seems to produce code just as good as a CTO. So code creation itself will be automated, and that changes how we look at software. Software is no longer about the logic we wrote down as rules, but it will be software that has been learning from data. So for the first time, software programmers are looking at not having jobs, right? So that's the end of code. What does that really mean? Well, Usain Bolt is slower than a domestic cat, right? What does that mean? Intelligence is why we are here. AI is going to be very, very disruptive. And AI is manufacturing intelligence. So a lot of the stuff which we thought was not automatable can be automated. It gives us room to be more human. It gives us time to spend time on things that machines cannot do. Being human beings is actually a process. It's a business process that can be optimized, if it's a business process. But if AI optimizes processes in the business, it's going to optimize processes in life. And so life as we know it is going to transform through AI. And the struggle towards that is going to be the story. Hunger, unfortunately, cannot be simulated, right? True hunger leads to more innovation, and that's kind of the core ethos behind most movements. And the AI movement is not immune to that. This is your movement, right? You own it. Just take it fully. There are two more things, yeah. Data and cash are quite interchangeable. These days, people will make value from data. There are companies that are willing to trade royalty for data, for cash, royalty for data. This is a very true transformation. But data is just still a four-letter word. Love is the only renewable resource you have on this planet, because time for us is limited. All we can do is blow through time with love, and that's the most powerful force on the planet. The 3 things to learn from a child: always be happy, never be idle, and cry for whatever you want. This, of course, Salvador Dali on Alice in Wonderland. Transformation is finding yourself in a building that's much, much smaller than you are. So break through those limits and build something really valuable before time takes us over. He that is not busy being born is busy dying. Transform. Thank you.